All right, so it's less than 2 weeks before the local government elections. Let's get some insights now on the different political parties, where they're campaigning and what that says. eNCA election analyst Wayne Sussman joins us in studio. And Wayne, it's great to have you on our team for the elections, and this is your first appearance as part of our election team, so welcome. Talk to us about where we've seen politicians. I mean, are you picking up trends? It looks sort of sporadic if you just look at it, but are there specific areas that are being targeted for specific reasons?
Thank you, Sally. It's great to be here. So when we look at this stage of a campaign, we want to see three things. Are party leaders going after where the majority of voters are? And when one looks at the big parties, they're certainly doing that right now, particularly President Ramaphosa. Are they going after areas where they're defending, i.e. John Steenhuisen was in the two municipalities in Limpopo where the DA currently govern. He's spending a lot of time in Nelson Mandela Bay and Tshwane. And then when one looks at Julius Malema, where can he be gaining? And of course where other parties can be gaining. So you've seen Malema spending a lot of time in more rural areas, and that's where he's really hoping to gain a lot of councillors in this particular election. You see John Steenhuisen spending time in Umgeni, in Howick. That's a municipality the party's trying to pick up. And then finally, you are seeing so many of the ANC top six spending day after day in Tshwane, hoping that they can regain the nation's capital, or either they're very concerned about their chances there.
Is that likely to work, though, right? Because, you know, the ANC has struggled previously in Tshwane, even though there's been a coalition that many would argue hasn't been working all that well, because we saw things change dramatically there. Is that going to work for the ANC, going into Tshwane to say, this is our election manifesto and campaign?
Well, they just want as many voters or as many community radio stations to hear that message and convince voters that they can do better than what the DA coalition has done over the last 5 years.
Do you think this is going to be a disruptor election, or do you think we're likely to see a continuation of trends, so ANC continuing a downward slide? What are you seeing in terms of possible anomalies for this election, or not?
This is a very different election. So in 2016, Jacob Zuma's ANC was deeply unpopular, and we saw this ascent of the DA and the economic freedom fighters, and a slight resurgence of the IFP. In this election, we see the ANC against the ropes again, and the DA certainly struggling to replicate what they did in 2016. So you're seeing a lot of new parties, like Good, the Patriotic Alliance, who contested last time but didn't do very well, and then a range of new local independent parties. Herman, let's also deal with Herman Mashaba's Action SA, but a lot of regional parties across South Africa who are trying not just to take votes from the ANC, but the DA as well.
I want to know about Action SA, because Herman Mashaba, of course, has a history as a mayor of Johannesburg. Does that give him any support at all in this election with his new party? Is he going to make a dent at all?
Well, Herman Mashaba has a lot of name recognition. Out of all the parties who are contesting a limited amount of municipalities, I would say he's the most well-known. As you said, he's a mayor of South Africa's largest city. He was a famous business person. The question is, can he make enough of an inroad to finish above fourth place? The ANC, the DA and EFF did relatively well last time round, and it will be very hard for Mashaba to finish higher than fourth, which I think he needs to do if he has any chance of returning to that mayoralty.
Now, I may be misremembering, but my understanding is that it was ANC, DA, and then the Freedom Front, the EFF, and then it was the IFP. What do you see happening with the IFP?
Well, I think they're going to have a good election. I think what happened in July in KwaZulu-Natal was a game changer for them, by the way, also for the EFF in that province. We saw both those parties make inroads in 2019, in the IFP's case clawing back, and we've seen that in by-elections in the May month, where the IFP continue to make inroads, and that's before the insurrection. So I think the IFP are going to do very well, particularly in northern KwaZulu-Natal, in the traditional Zululand stronghold, and in places between there and the city of Durban.
So would you say that the disgruntled ANC members, when Jacob Zuma was eventually taken to prison, that they're not going to support the party now and rather go for the IFP?
Well, I think turnout is absolutely critical in an election. And are your voters going to be enthusiastic? And we're going to be speaking a lot about this because turnout is absolutely everything. So I'm not saying that, that all of those votes will go to the IFP or the EFF. But if ANC activists are upset with the way Zweli Mkhize or Jacob Zuma has been treated, if ANC activists are not as enthusiastic because Jacob Zuma is no longer the president of the ANC, then it's going to be hard to convince people in the neighbourhood, people in the community to get out and vote. And that could also help the IFP.
You say this is going to be a very different election. Which political party fascinates you the most?
That's a great question. The first one which comes to mind is the Patriotic Alliance, who wants to legalise spinning. Now, spinning is...
We're not talking spinning at the gym, right?
We're not talking spinning at the gym. They want to legalise spinning on our motorways.
Donuts.
Yes, so that's been the most crazy campaign promise I've seen. They're also speaking a lot about God and faith and spinning. And so they've got very mixed messaging, and let's see whether that resonates with the voters. There's so many, Sally, so let's see.
God, faith and spinning, that's a fascinating combination. I look forward to having more chats with you in the days to come. Thank you very much, Wayne Sussman, our election analyst there.